Greece is a country of timeless charm, but investing in its bloated and grossly inefficient public companies right now has very limited appeal. The state sector's heavily unionised, companies face tax hikes, and there's still the real possibility that Greece will default on its debts. The EU and IMF are demanding a massive privatisation programme of everything from ports to power to real estate. It's meant to raise as much as $70 billion, though that may be optimistic. And a fire sale would mean deeply discounted prices.
It's also going to be very hard to find serious buyers, because a lot of people out there expect Greece to default and maybe even to go back to the drachma. So you have to take into account a devastating devaluation.
Two of the terminals at Athens' Piraeus port were leased to China's COSCO Pacific last year in a 35-year concession, which brought in $5 billion for the Greek state. Now the state's looking to sell another 23% of the port, despite opposition from the unions and numerous protests at the docks.
Generally, all this mess with privatization, with concession, with strikes, turned the ships to other ports. So we have less job than we used to have.
That's something the Greek people are getting used to. Unemployment's now at 16%. In the public sector, 10% of jobs have already gone. Another 20% set to go. And there's still extra fat to cut, says former Finance Minister Stefanos Manos, who kicked off Greece's first round of privatizations 20 years ago.
For instance, in the railway in Greece, the average salary is 66,000 euros per annum, whereas the average salary in the private sector is about 22,000. And on top of that, employs twice as many people as it actually needs. So this kind of madness would have to be taken into account before you say, is anybody interested in buying the railway? I think whoever just considers that is completely out of his mind.
The new finance minister has promised to do what the IMF and EU want: further austerity and full-scale privatisation. But this is a socialist government which came to power on the back of the unions, and although it promised to push through its privatisation programme this time last year, it didn't make much headway, a sign perhaps of its reluctance to push through policies that are against everything that it stands for. Diana Magnay, CNN, Athens.